everybody, good morning. This is Anne, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host and disembodied voice, Justin, and a sleepy Kiri dog. I hope you all... No squeak this morning. We're late because we had kind of a stressful morning. She's not feeling well, so don't be overly worried, anybody. But we're... and we're not going to talk... I don't want to talk about it a lot, but we'll just be aware. So, Kiri is here. She is snuggled down in her brand new blanket that David got for her. She is cozy in her bed. And we'll see. Yep, yeah, I hope so too, obviously. She's my girl. But thanks for your understanding, guys. I probably won't go... I mean, I've been going a little late for the last couple days anyway, so I probably won't go inordinately late today. I think I'm going to use canceled color, because take that, Ed. I might use maybe I'll use blonde instead. I'm trying not to use canceled colors. Trying not to troll Ed by always concentrating on canceled colors. So instead, I don't remember what colors I used for Sphinx's fur, so I'm just going to grab some blonde hair and mix it with some polished leather, and my gut says we'll get close. Hey Rax, thanks for the resub. Yeah, thanks for the love to Pupper. There we go. Let's add a little bit of blonde. See where that gets us. Well, that's going to be Patreon stuff, Val. I'll just do a little thing on what to use to replace some of them. Let's see. That looks really close to what I had here, actually, so it's maybe a little bit intense. Maybe I need just a little bit more blonde. Or a little brown. Let's see here. Maybe I should use just a touch of russet. At this point, I'm just like mixing by gut. Because I just want to get something close. You could use the blonde hair triad for this. Like, it wouldn't be a stretch to use the blonde hair triad for this. It also is pretty good to use, like, I may have used leather brown because that's a color that I made up to be a good color for lions. And actually, I've got that around here. I should grab some of it. Where is it? Where's my leather brown? There it is. 90-30. It's a classic. Hey, some shy guy. Nice to meet you. I'm Anne. We're doing Sphinxiness today. I'm going to do a lot of fur. I'm going to try to replicate what I did over here on the lovely haunch of the Sphinx. So yeah, so this leather brown is also a great color for... It's a little bit browner than what we got here. I had a little bit of gold, more of a golden tone for Ms. Sphinx here. But leather is a very good color to use for this. I think I'm going to add actually some leather brown to this mixture because I do want to mute it out just a little bit. My current attempt to match what I mixed is a little bit too intense. So let's pop some of that in there. So what I'm going to end up with probably is a mixture of leather brown and polished leather, which are just slightly different browns, and then some blonde hair. But you could also use, of course, like I said, the leather brown, tanned leather, and amber gold and golden blonde succession in our first paints. So 90, 30, 31, 32, 33, and hey, Raiders. Wow, brand color. Thank you for the raid. Dang, that's a juicy raid. Thank you so much. I'm Anne, everybody. I work for Reaper, obviously, as we're on Reaper's channel. I used to make their paint line for many, many, many years. I created Reaper Master Series paint, and now I stream for them, and we paint models in the mornings. And we're working on this lovely Julie Guthrie Sphinx, and she does actually have wings. I just haven't started on them yet. I like to paint things separately and then attach them, especially wings, because once you put wings on, it's so hard to paint the interior. So yeah, she's a lovely, lovely little Sphinx. She's very, very nice. Yeah, so I've been, essentially, before I was working on her skin tone, everybody voted on going dark with the skin and light with the fur, so that's what we're doing. And today we're working on shading and highlighting fur, and I'll probably do a little bit of painted on fur texture, because I like doing that stuff. So, thank you, Shy Guy. I'm glad you like it.
By the way, Miss Anne, to point out, that is Brandon Cutler, the one who rated us. Yeah, he streams. He is actually a pro wrestler who is D&D themed in
Oh, super.
a lot of his
Yeah, see,
punts.
I don't
Yeah.
follow the pro wrestling scene, so I had no idea. Well,
I,
welcome,
I
Bran. Thanks for the
yeah, I
raid.
didn't either. And he actually he came to town. That was a while ago, obviously, but he invited most of Reaper to a show to watch him and everything. It was
Oh,
really cool.
cool.
Yeah,
Bran is the
that
man. Cool.
super nice guy.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Yeah, I've been painting for a long time, Woden's Chris. Like, I am not a spring chicken anymore, and I started when I was around 9, when Advanced Dungeons and Dragons was just really getting going, as far as the books coming out and everything. So I got into D&D, and shortly thereafter I got into miniatures, because I was an artsy kid. Hi, Quindy, thank you for the resub. Awesome. 12 months, hey, that is your year anniversary. Thanks. Congrats, too. Yay for a year. So yeah, guys, that's who I am. I used to be Reaper's staff painter, and then when the paint line really started taking off, I went full time creating the paint line. So I am how I am different from other miniature painters on the interwebs and Twitch in particular is because I am also a paint line designer. I know a lot about the paint chemistry side of things and why the paint works the way it does and why certain colors act the way they do. So that's kind of the value that I bring to my own streams. I do this one for Reaper every morning at around 11:30 USA Central Time. And we go till around 1 p.m. And I also do some painting in D&D on my own stream, which is twitch.tv/paintingbig. So, yay D&D. Love it. Got me into painting. Yeah. Well, I was actually drawing from an even earlier age, Francis. So I'm going to add some walnut brown here, guys. This is maybe going to look weird because it's so dark, but it makes that kind of dramatic shadow that we have here, that nice shadow that makes it look like she's really in the sun, that leg is really in the sun. I find that adding walnut, even though it's a brown that's almost black, is makes a very natural shadow. Like, it looks very realistic for some reason. Could be because shadows tend to be grayish, and so when you add that walnut to anything with a little bit of white in it, it goes very gray. But glazing that into shadows, like adding it really lightly to shadows, can give you this kind of dramatic sunlit effect, and that's definitely what I'm looking for. So that's why I'm rocking that. Oh, his wife paints. Awesome. Let's see. Do I prefer fantasy? I used to, Wotan's, I used to do 40K, like Warhammer 40K and stuff. I have a bunch of different stuff. On my own, I tend to paint larger models and busts. So I've got a science fiction bust that I'm working on right now, which is this lady. So I do like me some sci-fi and also some steampunk, and I'm a big Shadowrun fan. I like cyberpunk stuff too, William Gibson, all the rest of it. I'm a geek. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool geek. I've been reading, science fiction and fantasy from an early age, so. There we go. Thanks for the link, Reaper John. Yay, and Instagram. Hello, Couple Cosplay. Oh, okay, you mostly paint. Awesome. Well, it's nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Ann. All right, let's see here, guys. Well, we need a highlight also. So we've got our dark shadow that I mixed this kind of this throwing together some blonde hair color, which makes sense if you think about it. The same genes that produce blonde hair in humans produce that color in dogs and felines, at least lions. So it's not a far stretch to use the blonde hair triad to highlight your lion. It works actually. But like I said, that triad originally created to do lions and leopards and things like that starts with leather brown for the shadow. So, I'm also using polished leather because it's a bit more vibrant. In fact, when you compare them, you can see the difference here. Part of it is that this one has more yellow in it. Part of it is that this one has a little more white in it. So that's your difference between these two colors. I find that I like a mixture of them because I'm going kind of intense with her gold color here. So yeah, we're going that way. Alternity. Wow. Yeah. It like makes a little flag pop up in my head, but I don't remember much about it. Oh no, Shadow, it doesn't work? No. Weird, Everlina. It shouldn't be. I mean, okay, define really shiny. Because if it's like really, really shiny, that says to me either it got frozen and maybe some of the matting medium like fell out of solution permanently, or it could be a bad batch if it's really recent. It could be one that they just forgot to add. Even though we test every batch, if somebody distracts you at the key moment, you can forget to flat a batch. I remember like 2 incidences in the last 15 years where we have forgotten to add flatting medium to a batch, but you never know. But the other thing is if it looks slightly glossier than your other paints, dark blues and browns tend to do that. It's just the way the color reflects. So if it looks slightly glossier, what I would do is just pick up some of our anti-shine additive and just matte it down a little extra. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that sometimes those colors just, if we don't add a little extra matting at the time, they tend to look just a little glossier. Oh, okay, it was the last game TSR made. That's a long time ago, but yeah, I was gaming then. I was gaming when there was still a TSR. In fact, I grew up south of Lake Geneva in Bristol, Wisconsin. So about 20 minutes away from Lake Geneva, where D&D was born. Yeah. Oh, hi, Glittery Canine. I'd love your name. Glittery. I should paint a Glittery Canine sometime. All right, so wait, we've got to make a highlight, and we're gonna cheat. We're gonna use blonde hair. Because cheating, if you're not cheating, you're not painting or something. I think I also was using, I don't think I was using Osirian Sand on this one. I may have been using Creamy Ivory well, let's do blonde highlight since we're doing the blonde hair triad. Let's show how you could do lions with blonde hair. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, she turned out really pretty. I really love her skin tone couple cosplay. What I was going for really was the kind of alert look that your cat gets when it sees a bird. Like she just saw a bunch of adventurers walk into her temple and she's like, "Ooh, is it food?" That's the look I wanted. I'm glad you like her eyes. It's really nice on this model because they're sculpted so large that you can do a lot with them. You can get the highlight into the pupil. You can, put a couple of different colors in the iris. So I really am happy with how that turned out. Let me scoop my palette out of here. Here, I'll even zoom in. Why not? We'll zoom in since we have a lot of new people and they haven't seen her. So there's her face closer up, guys. So this is, actually, I think I used Cat's Eye Green from Bones from Reaper Miniatures paint line. The Bones paint line. And I think it's Naga Green for the dark part. And then we've got the highlights and the pupils there. Got a little bit of a dark rim around the eye to set it off a little bit better. And then a little bit of a highlight here on the lip. I think the lip I did was Succubus Kiss, which is a Bones paint from the Dungeon Dweller set. It's a really beautiful, like, dark magenta. It seems to go really well with dark skin tones. And then a little bit of highlight. Yeah, this is just a really well sculpted miniature. This is a Julie Guthrie sculpt. Julie has been, for those of you who are longtime miniatures fans, like especially oh, Woden's Curse. Yeah, you're from Wisconsin as well. Yep. But Julie has been worked for Grenadier and Ralpartha back in the day. So she's been in the industry a very long time. She's really a pro, and she's so wonderful at animals. And anything derived from animals and animal hybrids and dragons. Like, I think Julie just regularly knocks it out of the park. And so this is just a wonderful sculpt from her. Yeah. So Julie is still sculpting a lot. Julie and her husband, Bob, sculpt a lot for Reaper. And they do a lot of the monsters. Julie has done most of our... Well, before this last Kickstarter, Julie got dragoned out, so we dragged other people into doing dragons. But for the last several Bones Kickstarters, Julie has done most of the dragons. So she's just a pro. I love Julie's sculpts because I'm an animal lover. So anybody who sculpts animals really well, I'm all about it. All right, let us mix up our highlight. I keep getting distracted because I keep wanting to talk to you guys. This happens. Yeah. Yeah, Julie's dragons are wonderful, aren't they? Let me get some highlight down so we can actually paint as we talk. God forbid I actually get something useful done today. And I'm going to put a drop of water in there. When you go lighter, you've got to thin your paint more to get smooth layers. But we're not really working on that so much here because we're working with fur. So you see I actually am leaving a little bit of the texture of my brush strokes here in the highlights. That's on purpose. Because if you do that, and for one thing, fur is awesome that way because you don't have to smooth blend it. Then, yay! You can leave your brush strokes, and it looks right. It looks like it makes her look slightly furry. You often run into this on things like lions and horses and leopards, where there isn't long enough fur for the sculptor to really sculpt it, and if it does, it just kind of looks a little weird, or it can be hard to paint. So more often these days, a sculptor will sculpt animals with really close fitting fur as smooth for most of it, and then they'll give it longer fur, where there would be longer fur. But the easy way to paint this, guys, is honestly just to figure out what the direction the fur would grow in, which is easy. Just look at your own cat or dog for the most part, and then just use your brush strokes going in that direction. And mostly I stick it to the highlights, though you could certainly do it from the shadows on up. But it will, one, you won't have to smooth blend, and two, it'll actually look good and make the animal look furry. So, yeah. Oh, good, Francis. Francis is picking up art books for references. I have a very large art category. So, Francis, now that you have the Art Through the Ages book, you can use that to figure out an art style maybe that you like, and then do a little, look up more stuff on it and think about how you might apply it to miniatures and stuff like that. I find I never enjoyed art history, although actually that isn't true. I enjoyed ancient art history. I tend to like the older painters and sculptors better than modern, but yeah, I didn't enjoy art history in college nearly so much as I enjoy it now, where I can look at a painting in a museum and go, oh, I could use those colors on my next miniature. So I'm an art nerd as well. Yeah, there's a little bit of fur here. That's kind of a ridge of fur. It's a little bit weird, but I'm going to go in here and highlight. I think we'll do her belly too. Her belly's going to be lighter, which is why I kind of painted it lighter to begin with. I think I'm going to grab my creamy ivory. That's a very kind of it is kind of the color of cream, kind of darkened cream. And that'll be good, and then we can go up to pure white on the belly. Yeah, definitely. Glittery canine, yeah, exactly. Whenever you're doing anything from the natural world, I firmly believe in getting a photo up. We were doing gemstones yesterday, and I started with a reference for those too. So if you guys missed the stream yesterday, we were working on the rock troll. We were working on the gems on top of his head. Rock troll's pretty cool, actually. He's turning out really awesome. We're not quite done with him yet, but this is one of the projects we've been working on for a while on stream. So that's another one of the models that I've been working on recently. And then we also do character models here for those who are interested. We do, this is Juliana, who I have to send in to Ron. She's an herbalist, so kind of an NPC character, but I think she's a sweet little model. So there you go for all the new people who came over with the raid. That's what we do here. We do a bunch. I actually do more characters these days than monsters. That's why I've kind of been concentrating on monsters this week, just to kind of switch it up. We go back and forth. We don't spend weeks and weeks doing one single figure. I'll do a day or two or three, usually, unless I'm really into the piece and we're close to finishing it. And then we'll swap it up and we'll go to something else for a while, just to keep it fresh, right? Because the problem with painting a whole miniature on stream is that you're inevitably repeating yourself, right? You're doing fur texture on one side, and then you're doing fur texture on the other side, and then you're using the same colors, and you're talking about the same kind of things. So it's nice every once in a while to swap away, and then come back to the figure, and you probably have some new viewers who missed the earlier episode. So... alrighty. We're good. Just checking chat. Oh, dice slam. Rolled for damage. I love it. Okay, the combination of wrestling and D&D does appeal to me. This idea does appeal to me. I may have to look this up. I kind of was into pro wrestling way back the classic days, Hulk Hogan and all that. But when I was a kid, but I have not kept up with the genre. But the idea of a D&D themed wrestler appeals to me so much. So we're just kind of going in, and I'm keeping this lighter color all in the shadows, and I'm picking out these little bits of fur with this creamy ivory. See, I missed a mold line, but oh well. Sorry, Sphinx. You're gonna have a mold line. I might go in and putty that later. And wherever there's not fur, I'm just going to kind of do brush strokes that go along with the direction the fur is growing up above, or the direction the fur... Oh, I see, that's a scarab. I need to outline that. She's actually wearing a belt. I saw it on the back and I saw it on the front, and I forgot to outline it. So let's do that. Let's grab some brown liner. Brown liner, the liners in Reaper Master Series are thinned a little bit more than, or they're not thin. They're in a thinner base. They're more fluid than normal paints, and so they make a thin line easier, so we can outline this little jewelry piece down here that she's wearing. There we go. Now you can see it. She looks like she's got like a couple of little crystals hanging down from this belt, and then there's a scarab in the middle. So I'm going to outline that so I don't forget it, since I just forgot it. I'm going to do just a little bit, just a few drops of this and 1 drop of water. Don't need to thin the liner very much, and the more you thin it, the more transparent it gets, so you can make a bolder line or a softer line as you wish. There we go. That looks pretty good. 3 to 1's a pretty good liner. It's not super dark. I don't want it to be super dark because I'm putting it up against something really light here with this underbelly fur. So I don't need too much. Dressing as a red dragon. That's pretty fun. Alright, so using my brush with a very little paint on it so I can control it, because it's quite thin, so when you thin your paint down, you need a lot less on your brush. Otherwise, it's going to go everywhere. So I'm going to see that fineness of that line I'm able to get. I also have really good brushes, so that helps a lot. But a really good brush and very little paint on it is like really half the battle to getting great miniatures. That and going slow. You see, I'm not rushing through anything right now. I'm kind of just taking a breath and letting it out. You don't want to hold your breath when you paint details. It's just like, you know, shooting or playing pool or throwing a dart. If you hold your breath, your hand tends to shake and you tend not to be as accurate. Though at this point, honestly, if I make a mistake, it's not a big deal. It's very easy to cover up at this stage of the game. Hello, Valandar. Let's see. And for those who are watching, who usually watch my afternoon stream, my dog is not feeling well today, but I think I'll still be on for my afternoon D&D. We're doing kind of a D&D painting and world creation stream right now on my own channel. We should be okay. I'm gonna call the vet, and I'll keep you guys posted who are on my Discord and Patreon. So let's see here. So that's pretty good. We're outlining that. Now I won't forget it. I still need to get this part. It's a little hard going under her arm there. But with bones, sometimes you just don't have the option. You know, there's a certain amount you can avoid putting together, but some of it just comes assembled. So at times like this, just figure out the best angle for you to naturally hit that detail. So I can get in here if I go under the arm. And just go slow. Just don't try to rush it. And don't get all freaked out, because remember, you can always correct it. It's so easy to just paint over if you make a small mistake at this point, because you've mostly just got base coat down, and you're working with lighter colors, which means they're going to cover better, which means it's going to be very easy to cover up anything you do. Yeah, she's not feeling well, Francis, so yeah, thanks for the Kiri hugs. I'm just going to give the vet a call to kind of give them her symptoms and see if they think she should come in. And if they did get us in an appointment today, then I would have to cancel the stream this afternoon. But I doubt they'll be able to. I'm used to having to wait for a vet appointment, like at least a day. So, but I'll keep you guys in the loop. I have a very well. She's not a tremendously old dog, but she's a big shepherd. So she's going to be 13 in January. So she is. There's the Kiri face. Chibi Amy has now put up my Kiri emoji that her daughter made for me. But yeah, so Kiri is it's getting older. It's getting to the it's at that point where they always say, you know, once you're past 10, every day is a blessing, and so I'm just happy that I've had my Kiri for 12 full years, almost 13. And she has had a good life, so I feel like I've been a good dog mom to her. But hopefully we will still have a good amount of time with Kiri. Hopefully this is just a little blip and not a big deal, but you just never know. There we go. So now I've got that lined out and separated out a bit. Lining is just, you can think of lining just as kind of a super minimalist shadow. So if you don't do a lot of other shading in your painting, but you learn to line, you'll actually find that your miniatures look better, even if you don't do washes or any other shading on them. And the nice thing about lining is that even though at first it may seem frustrating, as you do it, it builds your brush control really fast because you have to, you have to outline things, right? So it's not like you're having to paint a thin line freehand or anything. You just have to like get it thin enough to outline. But doing that and going around the details with that thin line builds your brush control faster than any other technique. So then if you line regularly and you get in the habit of it, you're going to find that you can hit these small details a lot better than you could otherwise. Yeah, I don't want to focus on it today. I have worried about Kiri enough all night. And right now she is actually conked out, snoozing next to me. So I'm kind of in between. I have a friend who she's one of my Shiloh Shepherd friends, and she never shares when anything is wrong with her dogs because she just doesn't want to have to explain it over and over again, and she doesn't want to dwell on it. And I am kind of in her school, but she also doesn't announce when one of her dogs passes, and I do that because a lot of people other than me love my dogs. Kiri's the last of my current dogs, so when she goes, we will be dogless briefly. Probably take the opportunity to do some traveling and stuff, assuming that we can, given the state of the world, right? But it's kind of been nice. I mean, I hate to say this, but like staying at home, and not having to, not being able to even go out if I wanted to, really. Has been a lot of extra time with my Kiri in her old age, so it's not been all bad. And if you just find that you can't really get clear brush strokes when you're trying to get this fur, don't worry, just get close. You don't have to hit every strand exactly. Oh, he knows, Chibi. He knows we're getting another dog. The only question is when and who. But he knows that I'm definitely. The thing is, though, I would like to like do a couple of European miniature shows before we get another puppy, and have to pay for boarding the dog and everything. So I'd like to get over to like Monte San Savino, which is a big miniatures show in Italy, which is supposed to be one of the best miniature shows in the world, with some really high end painters. Some of the best painters in Europe show up to enter that one. So I would really like to get over there and see that and enter with David, my husband, or sorry, husband, not husband, boyfriend, who is also a miniature painter. And we have a lot of friends who enter, and they want us to go. So it's like, it's just hard to go when you've got an elderly dog. I really don't want to kennel Kiri because she's really old, and it would stress her out. And you just, when they're that old, you just want to spare them any extra stress. So I've kind of resolved myself to not traveling until Kiri is gone. All right, so we've got some here. You can see the leg better there. Just kind of going, again, we've got kind of the direction of the fur outlined here by Julie, right? So then when we get to the smooth area, we just have to keep doing our little brush strokes in that direction, just so you can see them even. You don't even have to disguise them. And so then it looks more furry over there. Yeah, I don't have any reliable. I mean, we have a lot of neighbors, but they're not. They don't have dogs themselves. Since David moved away from the city in order to get this apartment, so we had a big enough apartment for me and Kiri to move in. He doesn't have neighbors that he can just reach out to about watching the dog, and of course my ex, who is Kiri's dad, human dad, he's back in Texas, so. That's not happening. So yeah, I mean, I'm okay not traveling until Kiri is gone. I mean, she's not going to last forever. And right now, with COVID. It's just like you can't really get out around the world anyway. You probably don't want to, so I'm doing just fine right now. But yeah, before we get a puppy, I would like to get over to France, see the Louvre, you know, go to Italy, eat lots of tasty food, do all that stuff. Oh, cool. Cool, Ash. I'm glad. I'm glad that it helped. Yeah. I'm glad that they look good. No problem. Wood seems intimidating, but then when you do it that way, it's not nearly as bad as you think. All right, so we got lots of nice pale highlighted fur going on here. Just a little bit of extra texture in there, and now I'm gonna bring up her underbelly fur a little bit more, because I do want her belly fur to be lighter. It tends to be lighter on lions and most animals. I would say many animals. Kiri's belly is not lighter. She has a dark belly. Yeah, exactly. All our pets are. Although they had I think it was the New York Times that had that editorial column after COVID started, where one editorial was by a dog and the other one was by a cat, and the dog was like, "I'm so happy you're home all the time," and the cat is like, "Will you leave already?" So I think that's probably a little bit harsh on the cats. Although I certainly can see some cats being that way, but it was really funny. It was really funny the way it was written. But yeah, I definitely, I have a lot of traveling that I've wanted to do. And to be fair, I won't mind boarding a puppy, but it just seems like a good idea to take advantage of the time when you are dogless to get some of that traveling in and not have to worry about finding a good boarding place or the cost of a good boarding place. So. And then again, it'll take time to find the right puppy. I'm pretty picky at this point. There's definitely a certain temperament of dog that I want. So we shall see. All right, so we've got all that fur nicely highlighted. Her feet are still pretty much just blocked in at this point, and I missed some spots, so I think I'm going to come in with my brown and go over the top of those. Yes, thank you for the Patreon link there, Jetta. Yeah, my Patreon is just my Discord is for my patrons. That's just one of the things that I made for them. But the D&D stream that we do has its own Discord. That's a public Discord, and that's the D&D stream on my own channel, which is also Painting Big, but it's Twitch.tv. But yeah, we made a Discord for that just because I wanted to keep my Patreon Discord for my patrons. But I wanted the D&D world to be open to everybody. All right, we're getting there. So do I want to... I think I want to bring up this area right now. I think I'm going to go and... Yeah, the old cat loves it. Yeah, I believe it. Old kitties do like to be more snuggly, I think. My kitty got more snuggly when he was older. He never was a lap cat when he was a young cat, but he got more lappy and more bed snuggly as he got older. All right, we're going to get some pure white, the best white on the planet. I mean that totally honestly. Would never use anything other than pure white. I should probably just buy like 4 dozen bottles and just, be done with it. Let's see here. Gonna add a little bit of water to it. I did about 3 drops. I'm gonna do it about a 1-to-1. Which 1 drop of water for 1 drop of paint, which seems very thin, I'm sure, to those of you who may not thin your paints as much. But having thin paint is part of keeping this fine control and being able to get these little lines and highlights. So 1-to-1 with white actually isn't that extreme. Yeah, well, we were talking about this being kind of like this would be a good face for the goddess of knowledge, her incarnation down in Karshan. In fact, I think I added that to the world anvil, that her aspect in Karshan is Hakima, the Sphinx. Since the gods change their faces depending on who they're worshipped by. Okay, so I'm just going to go over a little bit some of these. You can see how even putting that extra white highlight on that belly fur really makes it pop. Like now you can really see those strands coming out. If I want to lighten this entire area, I'd do a glaze. So I'd take some of my off-white, maybe mixed with a little bit of my pure white. So maybe grab like a brush full of that, a brush full of that, get a really pale cream, throw a bunch of water into it. And since it's a light glaze, you really do want a bunch of water in it. Let's see. It's already thinned, the paint I put in there, so we'll see what it looks like. You want something that looks like colored water. The thicker it is, the more it's going to change the surface. And the thinner it is, the more layers you may need to add to get a change in the surface. So what we're doing is kind of putting a filter over it, just like a camera. I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm going to grab reload. With a glaze, you want to paint fast. You can either put it on like a wash and then wick off the excess, or you can start with very little on your brush and just put a thin layer over the top. Either will work. I do it in sections. Like at that one I did like a wash and it's still pooling. You never want to keep this, you never want to let this pool. You always want to rinse out your brush real quick, kind of dry it off, and use the tip to kind of wick off any excess that you see pooling. Because unlike a wash, you're thinning this paint so much that it's going to break. It's going to start drying in weird ways on raised surfaces. And so you don't want it to pool anywhere. You want it to kind of settle, a fine layer of sediment over the surface so that it makes the entire area look lighter. It's a way to lighten the entire surface. So you can see now, if I shove this out of the way, get my camera back adjusted, this is obviously now lighter by 1 degree than this is. See how that works? So one glaze made this entire area shift lighter. So it's a way to do that, even if you've already laid down like a lot of your color, but you decide you would like an area, and it isn't always lighter. Like often it'll be, I need to shade this darker, or I need this to be brighter. Like say you're doing a red cloak and you did your highlights and it kind of washed out your red. Then you might take a pure red glaze and hit the whole thing. It'll knock down your highlights just a little, but it will also make everything more intense. So a lot of people use glazes for that. Woohoo. Yeah, Chibi, everybody loves it when animals get in on the work meetings. When I was watching Overwatch League this summer, because I'm an Overwatch League fan, the animals, the pets of the casters, like regularly got into the cameras. They became minor celebrities. It got so that they had pets predicting the outcomes of the matches. They'd put up a bunch of cards with the names of the characters or or whatever they were doing that week, and then have the pet that knocked over the card, the one card first, that was the card they'd choose. It was really silly, but it was really fun. All right, I'm going to glaze just the inner part of this to make it a little bit lighter. This time I'm more painting it on. There's still pooling a little bit, but I'm not letting it get out of control because I want the haunches here to stay darker. So then I rinse out my brush, kind of squeeze out some of the water, and just kind of use the very tip. You just want to get wherever it's pooling. You want to leave it intact. You don't want to brush your brush over the surface. You just want to use the very tip of your brush to kind of slurp up that paint. Very delicately. And you can do this, like I do it in sections like this regularly, because once it starts to dry, you don't want to touch it. So you really do want... There we go. You do want to be very delicate when you touch it, because you want most of it to stay. There we go. So that's lighter now. You can see how that lightened her whole belly, which is nice. It's also a nice contrast when you go and look up at the top of her is so dark, right? Of course, a lot of this is going to be very, very brilliant, very detailed, because it's going to be gold with lapis and turquoise and carnelian and stuff, right? So we will have an awful lot of detailing going into this area. But this is nice, subtle detail down here. And because this is going to be so flashy, I'm not worried that having a lot of light down here is going to distract from her. I'm also saying I was good to go dark with the claws for now because with all of this light, if I'd gone light with the claws, they would be disappearing against this light color here. So I think going dark with the claws for now, or at least for the root of the claws, we'll see. I may keep them dark and just do a little bit of highlighting toward the tips. We'll have to judge it as we go. And that's something that I will make a decision about as I go, depending on how the miniature's looking. So now I'm going to take my pure white again, and I'm going to highlight the rest of her belly for where I didn't hit it with the pure white yet. That's awesome, Ash. Yeah, I still use my Overwatch headphones, and I've got an Overwatch mouse and Overwatch mouse, but I kind of branding. I have a lot of Overwatch t-shirts. I actually am pretty addicted. David and I play the game almost every night just because it's a game that we both enjoy that we can play together. We do some other stuff too, like we played through the Borderlands games together and stuff like that, but it's a game we both like, and I really love it. I'm kind of glad that, like, when we met, he knew what Overwatch was and he'd kind of tried it in beta, but he hadn't picked it up again. So I was like, oh no, am I going to be totally obsessed with watching Overwatch League? And David is going to be like, just what the heck are you watching? But then he started watching Overwatch League with me. And once he started playing the game more, he got into it. So now we actually both really enjoy watching Overwatch and playing it. Which is a relief to me because it is something I really like to do. He even went to, when they had the live homestands before COVID, he actually came to Texas to go live to see my team play, guys. That's love. And he wasn't that into it when he came down at that point. So, ooh, yes. Actually, yeah. If you join the Patreon, there's all sorts of there's a work in progress channel, Ash. So if you're working on something and you want to post up pictures of it as it's in progress, then go to the work in progress, and then it's like show off for finished work. I think is the other one. And then there's feedback wanted. So if you just want to post up a work in progress and you don't want feedback, put it in the work in progress. If you do want feedback, then it's definitely the feedback wanted forum. That tells people that they can feel free to give you advice. Sometimes you just want to show a work in progress because you're happy with it and you don't necessarily want feedback. And that's why, we have kind of two separate channels for that sort of thing. Oh, the Diva headphones. Yes. Yes, I do love the Diva headphones. I was very tempted by those, but I wasn't playing tank at the time. I've been a support player for so long. And then recently I actually picked up tank. And because I really like Sigma. And so I decided I would try him because David played him and it looked really fun, but then David started playing a lot more DPS. So now I'm queuing usually as either tank or support, and we get games a lot faster. But yeah, so I've started picking up tanks, and I actually did pick up Diva for a couple of games and was pretty happy. Like, I have a lot to work on for improving my play, but I like her kit. And I love that fox skin, that fox spirit skin they came out with for Halloween. Holy wow, is that thing awesome. I'm now given I'm into foxes, so for me the kitsune skin was just lovely. Perfect. Makes me want to play the character even more. All right, so now we've got some nice white highlights on the belly. So all that fur texture is coming out really nicely, and I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to rebase coat her feet, and then we're going to do the fur on the haunch over here. Awesome! I'll go look at them afterwards, Ash. I usually save my, I go over to the Discord after I stream here, and I look at everybody's pictures and comments and stuff and respond. I will go look at your boards. And thank you for joining my Patreon. It really does mean a lot to me. Since that's what I do for a living now, since I'm only working for Reaper part-time to do the streams, so the Patreon is really what supports me. In the plainest sense of the word. So I really appreciate that you joined. Hopefully you enjoy all the tutorials and stuff. And I will be talking about, I feel like I need a darker brown here. I think I'm gonna maybe I'll grab rich leather and see if that's a good Good brown. I feel like I've gone a bit golden, a bit yellow, a bit lighter than the other leg, and I want them to be more of a match. So I'm going to grab a different color. I'm using a lot of leather colors here, which should make sense because, you know, tanned leather is a, you know, a light tannish brown, light golden brown, and does make sense for lion fur as well. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys that I'm using that. So I'm grabbing rich leather now to see if I can blend in some of this. Yeah, we play on PC. We've got our David and I have our gaming computers in our painting room, so we'll often get after supper, after my walk, I'll come in and we'll maybe hobby for a little bit, and then we'll play. We'll click some heads when we get too tired to hobby. I think I went. Yeah, that's about right. I think I need to go a little darker with my shadow. There. All right, let's try that now. Yeah, Val, you'll have different prep, but as David Clearman said, it's it's a lot of, you can use the same tools for a lot of it. So with the 3D printing, those of you who are doing my paint-alongs, bear with us because we'll start actually doing things that everybody can do this month, later at the end of this month. Yeah, hopefully your print goes well, Val. I'm pretty happy with my prep on her. I need to grab some time and do some extra green stuff work on her. I need to do the parts that I didn't have time to do on stream because, you know, if I sat there and prepped the entire model on my video for the Patreon, you guys would be watching an 1.5 hour video, which would be kind of boring. So I have to get the rest of the prep done on her so I can we can decide how we're going to prime her. Oh, is that it? The Tang Garden Bridges? Yeah, I looked at Tang Garden. I almost picked it up, but I've done so much money into miniatures Kickstarters. There have been so many good miniatures Kickstarters this year, guys. I've just been, my wallet is exhausted, and I've been trying so hard to be good about money, and I kind of, like, went a little far on Kickstarters this year, so I decided that, you know, I am a starving artist now. I no longer have, like, a real job. My Patreon and my commission work and my Twitch are what support me, so I have to be cautious, and I've essentially put the lid on any Kickstarter purchases, any further Kickstarter purchases. Or miniatures purchases, for that matter. I'm not going to any of my miniatures sites to look at miniatures. I'm being a good Anne and trying not to break my bank account. We have so many good Kickstarters that'll ship to us next year, though. Like, I'm really looking forward to it. So I don't regret the Kickstarters that we did buy into, but I definitely have to be a good girl now. All right, so let's see. I went pretty dark there all along that bottom of that leg, so I'm going to take that the same way here. Shade it down. So the darker the shadow you do, yeah, I got a lot richer and darker there. I'm going to take my rich leather and paint it over this and see how dark I can get. The darker you go with your shadows, the more dramatic your lighting will look. So if that's what you are looking for, if you're looking for a very, very bright sunlit look, for example, or you have a really bright overhead light on a piece that's a science fiction piece or anything like that, then you need to go really dark with your shadows to really make that look correct. Now I'm going to compare. I need a dark shadow there. Trying to make these two sides match. This is the problem with a model, with putting a model down and going back to it, right? Is that you're kind of like, what did I use? I have a pretty good eye for color because I made the paints for so many years that I can pretty much look at the model and say what color I used. So now it's just like me trying to kind of match the sections. Now this is looking a lot like the other side. Let's see here. I do think that that's a little bit off. This needs to be a little bit darker. When you've got a bright overhead light you're really only going to hit the top ridges of the muscles and the bones with a really high highlight. So, and I haven't gone up all the way either. This is much lighter if you look on this side than it is on this side. So I'm still fine tuning. I've been working pretty hard on my lighting recently because I feel like it was one of the weaker things in my arsenal, my highlighting, specifically my shading, actually. My highlights have always been okay, but I never took shadows as dark as I could. And so this year, that's my year for working on that. Because I do like the dramatic... The rock troll that we showed earlier was a good example of that. I do like the dramatic lighting style. I don't feel like I could use it on everything, but I want to get it in my arsenal of painting tricks, like, so that when it is suitable, I can reach for it. So I want to bring out that fur a little bit more. And I want to bring in a little bit of a highlight on the very top here. Which is going to help to kind of make it look more sunlit. And we want to bring these furs. These furs are pretty light. I went up with them before, but I feel like I want to go up a little higher with them. And again, you don't have to hit the fur exactly as it's sculpted. If you get close, you're fine. You can always go back with some shading too if you want to and kind of break up hairs that stick together. I think it closes the end of November, some Shy Guy. So you will want to get over there. Making bases look more custom. Like just pretty much doing a bigger display base view in Aqua. I'm probably... Do you mean on the Patreon or on here? Because I don't know that I'm pretty much... I'm going to do something for the rock troll, I think. And I know we did a bunch on, Snack Lady. Although a lot of what I did on her, we still need to add vegetation and water. But a lot of what I did on her, I did on my own stream. Just because I didn't want you guys to have to sit through me sculpting endless bounds of rocks. Okay, December 1st. Thank you. But yeah, Vimanaqua, I think I'll do something. I definitely want to do something to dress up the base of the rock troll, because it's really just kind of rocky and bland right now, and I would think we could do a little better than that. And I for my paint along in the Patreon, I will be doing. I think I'm going to be doing quite a big additional project on that base. Because we're trying to, with every paint along, I try to do something a little bit different. So this one is a 75mm swordswoman that we're doing from Bombshell Miniatures. And she has a very simple... Here is Tara. This is what we're doing for our paint along. And this is the base. So it's just pretty much just a rock for her to stand on. So I really would like to make this bigger. So I think we're going to do more scenic approach, and we're probably going to use one of the wood blocks to mount it on, and do a lot of additions and make it bigger, maybe add a water effect. Haven't decided. Right now I'm thinking I want to build it up behind her so that she's more standing on a hillside and less on just a flat rock. So kind of build up the back behind her so it's slanted. And then build it down in front of her so it looks like she's on a hillside. At that point, we can add a small stream running down, or just a rivulet of water, which will add visual interest and motion, and some plants. So, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking with Tara, because I think she's definitely dressed not for winter. A lot of people want to go winter with this base, but I think we'll have to save that for a different model. Alrighty. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on the Kickstarter. I think I already locked in my pledge, though. I did get the Giant Yeti diorama because I love the monkey face. I like the snow leopards, and I love the giant face terrain piece. I think it's awesome. All right, so now we're just kind of double checking to see how our fur is looking. I want to see how I did that. Yeah, I brought out that calf a lot down there, so I want to do the same thing here. Make this definitely lighter because it should be, that muscle should be sticking out a little bit. It's not quite, it's not sculpted as rounded on this side, so I kind of have to watch it. And I want dark underneath it to make it show up. So I need to grab some of my shadow. Just paint it over that, make it darker. Dark shadow here. Have to decide how light I'm going to take a pause. Yeah, actually I did, Val. I don't remember which video it was in. If you're still watching the videos, I may have talked about it at the end of the second video. You can use a base if you want. It's all up to you guys, like on the paint along. But I'm probably going to use a wood block for her. As somebody had mentioned it, and when I looked at it, I liked that it gave us more ability to do some different and scenic basing with her. And like I said, I'd like to kind of put her on a hillside because it's going to add more visual interest instead of just having her sitting on a rock. It's 1.5 inch. Easy to find on Amazon or Craft Store. I ordered mine from Amazon, but you could get it even cheaper if you go directly to a store. Whatever you feel comfortable doing these days. Now I want this line here. I do want a dark line to kind of show that that is separation. Like I have one over here. You see how I did the dark line there and down the fur. So we're going to do the same thing here to show that these are two different areas overlaying each other. This is not, you know, it is all one leg this way, but there's this, it definitely folds here and there is a crease. It helps bring out the shape of the leg. Do any bases for smaller player figurines? Does that make them harder to fit? I do on occasion for myself, Viva Aqua, but I mean the Snick was kind of like that. Her integral base would fit on a smaller plastic, but I wanted to do a scenic base for her because I figured that she made a really good villain for a scenario. Like she made a top level villain, you know, Snake Lady, Naga Sorceress, or whatever. So that's why I went bigger and more scenic with her base. I would still use this. I would still feel perfectly fine using this on the tabletop. If she was a, you know, an end game villain or end adventure villain. But I often with character models, I guess, do I have it? The most I'll do, Viva Aqua, is actually our last paint along. This model was our last paint along on my Patreon. His base is just this big main rock here. Like that's it. He would fit on a smaller base, but I wanted to do a little bit more scenic stuff. I wanted to give him a little bit more feeling of place. So we did some sculpting of small rocks and everything, and stuff like that. So that's something I would definitely do for a player character figure. Just that little bit of additional landscaping. I like it to at least be a little bit suggestive of where they are and what they're doing. Like, I could have done, you know, an urban street instead on him, like I did for our duelist model, if you remember. Here, let me grab that. I don't know if you saw her, Vimanakwa. I think you've seen her. Most people have. So for our duelist here, she had a very small base, and I was concerned about it. Like, her integral base is very small. So I mounted her on the round Reaper base, and I did, like, a cobblestone curb. So that she's actually in a street, in a city or town, not out in the wilderness. So I'll do that. I like to do that sort of thing for player characters, and we'll probably work on Alethea tomorrow, unless I feel really sphinxy again. But yeah, so I'll do a little bit of that, just enough to give them a place. I like to know what sort of world they live in. It helps me figure out the character, which helps me figure out, like, things like, you know, what colors I want to choose for them and stuff like that. So that sort of thing is what I will do for player characters. And I believe I did do that on stream as well. There we go. We get a little wrinkle here. So we're definitely bringing up, now that leg has a lot more highlights and shading on it. I still feel like I need to maybe minimize that shadow. Let's see here. I want to bring up this a little bit. I don't want this shadow to be quite as dark, I think. I want to save more of the shadow for... And notice, even when I'm just blocking this in, I'm still using a brush stroke that goes in the same direction as the fur. This way, if my blending isn't perfect, I'm still like, you know, I'm consistent about it, right? And then my fur will match. So, yeah, it's good. I don't like this gap. I'm going to fill it in. And I'm going to make that... There really shouldn't be two muscles here. Should be one. So I'm going to paint plastic surgery it, because I can. If there are spots in a sculpt that don't make sense to you, sometimes you can just fill them in or with highlighting and shading and kind of erase the discrepancy you don't like. We call this paint plastic surgery. That's what I call it anyway. Other people may call it different things. And we'll get more light up there on that haunch. I definitely want a shadow, though, a little bit underneath that paw. A little bit of a shadow here. There would be one. So not as much of a highlight up there as I thought. There we go. That reads a little better. Yeah, I'm liking that a little bit better. Excellent. Talking 3D printing, I see again. All the rage, 3D printing. I'm kind of glad I don't have one, because then I'd be even worse about miniatures, adding miniatures to my collection. There, got that. Got a little bit of that. Just trying to fine-tune this haunch and make it look a little more like I want it to look. Make sure I get my shadows appropriate. Don't want too much highlight here. Knock it down just a little bit. That's a little better. Sometimes you just look at it and you're just like, that's not quite what I want. I'm going to block in the fur on this paw a little darker, just to give it a little more contrast with the underbelly that we did there. And I'll make the toes lighter, I think, is what I'm going to do, which is often the case with lions. But I'll make the rest of the foot a little bit darker so that we can get a little more contrast, so that everything doesn't just blend into itself. And this is definitely in shadow over here, so I'm going to bring in a shadow on this side of the foot, because that knee is going to block the light considerably. I've always liked realism in my paint jobs, and so since trying to concentrate more on my lighting, I'm going more for realism. want to get the toes, but I don't want to get a lot of the rest of anything down on the foot. And I'm leaving some of the foot dark because it would be in shadow. So I'm mostly going to get the toes toward the middle on this one foot. She's just curious about whether you're edible, you know, Val. Like, she has that, you know, like, are you food? Look, you could always say, no, I'm not food. At least you could try to convince her that you're not food. Alright, a little bit more brown liner because I want a line between the toes here. And I also want to darken the claws, just like up on the paw. So my liner's a little bit thin for that, but I can at least block in the claws. If I want them a more solid dark color before I start highlighting them, I can always come back in later. Right now I just want to kind of separate them from the rest of the paw. And then bring down this to outline the toes. Again, I can always downplay those dividing lines with a bit of a glaze if I want to. But I like to at least have them there. Then I can decide if I want to make the paws a little bit less obvious with the splits on the toes there. And yeah, I could grab a little bit of this color, paint it over that, and then I'll dim them down a little bit. There, now my paw lines are not so obvious. Just painting a thin layer of another color over the top. It's pretty much a spot glaze. Alrighty. Let's see here. We are getting to within shooting distance of the end, so let me highlight these little toesies. I think we've done pretty well today. I need to do the foot, I need to do the tail, and the back is pretty good until I attach the wings. You know, you just never know. Like, I could put the wings up, it's probably going to cover a lot of the back, so to keep that in mind. Went up a little fast on that toe, so I'm going to reach for my first mixture, which is more of a pale gold or a medium gold. Do that first, then go up to the off-whites to make the toes lighter. Just want to kind of blend it in a little bit. You can see how light that was on that one toe, so decided that was too much. I like our Sphinx very much. Thanks, Trisonoma. I'll make her little toesies a little lighter. Just a little bit more of a highlight there on the side of the foot. How you doing, Doglet? Oh, she's lying down. Heard my Kiri shifting around a second ago. Alrighty. A little bit darker down here, I think. So shadow on the underside of the foot there. And we're going to get this a little bit more. There. The side of the toe there. That's looking okay. And now a little bit lighter on the toes, on the very tips. So just a little bit of the creamy ivory on the tips of the toes. Kind of bring them out. A little bit over here too to be consistent. For these little toesies. There. Light paws, just like these light paws up here. I went pretty light toward the ends of these paws on top. Although here her skin is turning to paws, so the color's slightly different. We did a little bit, have a little bit more of that darkness from the skin tone mixed into those paws. I think that's fair. Alrighty. Looking pretty okay. Yeah, that's looking pretty okay. 8408 is the one I like, D. Clearman. A lot of people seem to like the 8404 a little better, but I really like the 08. I like the longer taper. The longer taper on the bristles. So, that one. And it is 8408, size 1. Woohoo. Alrighty. Well, I think we did good today, guys. We got the haunch done. We got the belly lined out. We didn't get the jewelry blocked in yet, but that's okay. We got the other haunch done. We got the little toes done. So we got a lot of fur done here. Yeah, no problem, D. Clearman. Pretty good, all things considered. I feel like I could maybe warm this shadow up just a little bit to make it more like the other side. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, a little bit. Looks like I could bring in a little bit of highlight here or there. Just, again, I'm comparing with the other side. And trying to figure out, like, how much one way or the other I want to go. To make it look appropriate. That's pretty good. Yeah. Good deal, Pendrake. Sure, Woden's Curse. It's nice to meet you. I'm glad you liked it. I do it every morning. Every morning / early afternoon. For me, on the East Coast, it's still morning, so. But yeah, so we'll do, I don't know what we'll do tomorrow. I might feel like blocking in some of the jewelry on her. Or I might decide that we need to do some stuff on the duelist, maybe. I've been looking forward to doing some NMM on her. Maybe bringing up some of her yellow, doing her boots, because she has black shiny boots. But yeah, so there's where we are on Ms. Sphinx. More progress. Love to see progress. Yeah, and we still need to do her tail, obviously. I need to fill in, I think her tail tip's going to be dark, so it'll be black, probably like her hair. And I'm glad you all had fun. Any new people who stuck around, thank you for sticking around. We hope to see you at future casts. If you're bored around, noon central, we're on. Sure, yeah, I'm pretty chill, Night Wanderer. I'm pretty chill. I'm not Bob Ross chill, but I'm pretty chill. Thanks, Red Links. Thank you, Redcon. Yeah, I'm glad you had fun. All right, so guys, I am on twitch.tv/paintingbig, all one word. You could go check out my channel. We're doing we're world building D&D for our world, and I'm painting one of the characters for it later this afternoon. She's a bard. She's pretty cool too. So that's what I'll be doing at 4:30 p.m. Central Time on my own channel. And we'll be pretty much, if you're bored before Reaper Live, come on over. Help me boost my numbers so I can get close to partner. All right, Justin, do we have a raid that you have lined up anywhere?
We do. We're going to be raiding zombies.
Oh, awesome.
And also, as an announcement, there will not be a painting platinum today. So the next show we have in the can for you folks is Reaper Live at 6 p.m. Mm-hmm. You do not want to miss the episode tonight. We do have a bit of an announcement. Yeah.
Ooh, an announcement. Oh,
a little
mysterious.
people may have already been messing with stuff to figure out, what was in the works.
Oh.
I will say this: it has nothing to do with the 100th episode.
Night
Just in case
Wanderer.
anyone's curious, it has nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with that. Night Wanderer. It's twitch.tv/paintingbig. PAINTINGBIG. And I hope to see you there.
All right.
Have fun, guys. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning, too. Bye.
Thank you guys very much, and I'll see you tonight at 6.